right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to hack the OSCP certification itself. We're breaking down the brutal truths about why so many people fail, and we're going to share a guide based on what actually works, not just what looks good in your study notes. So let's kick things off with a feeling I'm sure many of you know all too well. It's that 3 a.m. gut punch, when you realize your perfectly organized, color-coded notes are, well, about as useful as a parachute in a submarine. It's a painful spot for sure, but a really powerful place to start. And this gets us right to the heart of the problem with most OSCP prep. It's what we're calling the OSCP paradox. You know, it's this cruel, kind of weird reality that the more you treat your studying like it's a trivia night, just collecting facts and commands, the more likely you are to fail when the pressure's really on. So let's be super clear about this. The exam does not care how many articles you've read or how neat your notes are. It's not about the pile of research. It only cares about what you can consistently do when that clock is ticking down and you're getting tired. It's all about behavior, not just knowledge. Okay, so that brings us to our first brutal truth, and this is a big one. It's a fundamental shift in how you think. You have to stop trying to memorize an encyclopedia of exploits. You need to start training yourself to recognize core repeatable patterns. And this slide, it just lays it all out, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the time sinks, getting lost in obscure tool flags, and perfecting notes you'll never actually use. But on the right, that's where the points are. High-impact stuff like relentless enumeration and chasing down credentials. Listen, this one sentence right here, this is the whole game. The second you stop hunting for some magical, exotic exploit, and you start asking yourself, wait, what basic thing did I miss? Well, that's the moment you start thinking like someone who's going to pass this exam. All right, let's build on that with our next truth. Think about it. You can have the most beautiful, detailed map in the world, but if you never actually get out and walk the terrain, that map's not going to do you any good, right? That is the critical difference between theory and hands-on lab time. Now, check out this table. It really breaks down the reality for people trying to do this with a full-time job. You can see how those big weekend warrior sessions, while they feel productive, are just a fast track to total burnout. The real sweet spot, the one that builds actual skill, is that balanced, consistent 8 to 12 hours a week. So this really forces you to ask yourself a tough question. Forget the perfect plan on paper. What can you actually commit to, week in and week out? Because trust me, a simple plan you actually stick with is infinitely better than some ambitious one you ditch after 2 weeks. All right, let's talk about the hidden boss fight of this whole exam, the part that trips up even really skilled hackers, the final report. It is not an afterthought, people. It is the quiet gatekeeper that decides whether all that hard work actually gets you a pass. And this quote, man, it just perfectly captures that painful moment of truth. Knowing the story of how to hack something is not the same as being able to actually do it. And your final report is where that gap becomes painfully obvious. With every single thing you do in a box, you're making a choice. On the left, you prioritize speed, you take messy notes, and you create a mountain of work for yourself later. On the right, a little bit of structure now saves you hours of pure stress when it's time to put that final report together. And look, the fix for this is not some crazy complicated system. Just adopting a simple, repeatable template like this one for every single machine takes all the guesswork out of it. It turns reporting from this frantic scavenger hunt into a straightforward process, and it cuts your anxiety in half. Okay, so we've got the mindset right, we know the common pitfalls. Now, let's get down to brass tacks. A concrete, actionable, 90-day plan. It's designed to be boring but effective, a plan you can actually finish. It's broken down into 3 simple phases. You start in weeks 1 to 3, just drilling the basics, getting that muscle memory down. Then, from weeks 4 to 8, you move into a weekly rhythm of tackling full machines. And finally, in weeks 9 to 12, you're simulating exam conditions to build up your stamina and fine-tune your process under pressure. Okay, let's talk about one of the most common fail patterns. It's so simple, it's almost silly. You run one scan, you don't find anything obvious, and you just assume it's a dead end. This is where people get stuck for hours. And the fix? It's not some secret elite tool. It's just a simple change in your process. You run a second, more targeted scan based on what you found the first time. It only costs you maybe 5 or 10 extra minutes, but it's so often where you'll find that breakthrough you need. Here's another classic mistake. We've all done it, right? You take dozens of screenshots, but hours later you're looking at them, and it's just a confusing mess of pictures. Your notes, which were supposed to help you, have now become a problem. And again, the fix is ridiculously simple. As you take each screenshot, just add one sentence. One sentence explaining why you took it and what it shows. This tiny little habit makes the job for your future self, especially during that final reporting crunch, infinitely easier. So what's the big takeaway here? It's this. Stop chasing the shiny, new, advanced techniques. Your biggest improvements, your biggest gains, will almost always come from just perfecting your routine for that critical first hour until it is absolutely automatic. Look, at the end of the day, success really comes down to mastering the mental game. This isn't about being smarter, it's about being calmer and way more prepared. Having a pre-decided script for your first hour, having a rule for what to do when you get stuck, and using that report template from day one. These are the systems that will cut right through that exam day anxiety. And that's where we're going to leave it. We'll leave you with this one final thought. The plan, the truths, they're all clear. But just knowing this stuff isn't enough. Your notes are just the map. Success depends entirely on whether you're willing to get in the lab and actually do the walking.